The film begins with a 17-year-old Maria Brennan getting ready for school. She lives in a luxurious home with her parents Dan and Amy, but life appears to be difficult for her. Maria is an outcast at school because of her timidity, and she is frequently bullied by a boy named Mark. Lily, on the other hand, is a confident figure skater with a boyfriend named Sean. Maria is occasionally envious of her friend. Maria's parents are also concerned about her aloofness, and they have tried unsuccessfully to persuade her to attend the upcoming school prom. In contrast to most stereotypical overprotective fathers, Maria's father is only concerned with her appearance and social standing. He believes she is messed up because she is uninterested in boys or any social activities. Maria is aware of her parents' concerns, so one day she sneaks into their room and attempts to apply her mother's makeup. She comes to a halt, however, when she notices something protruding from the mirror's edge. It's a strange sonogram image of twins, much to her surprise. Maria is in the bathroom in the middle of the night when her reflection in the mirror suddenly stares back at her, causing her to lose her balance and fall. She gets up quickly and wipes away the steam from the mirror, gradually revealing her reflection. To Maria's surprise, the reflection continues to move, prompting her to flee in horror. Maria tries to tell her parents about the incident the next day, but they dismiss her concerns as expected. Later at school, Maria is bullied again by Mark, who trips her and causes her to fall to the ground. Everyone is laughing at her, but Sean appears out of nowhere and helps her up. He even shoves Mark and warns him not to approach her. This act of kindness thrills Maria because no one has ever stood up for her. She takes a relaxing bath after school, recalling her earlier encounter with Sean. However, the sound of a baby's cries soon disturbs her. Maria's birth images flash through her mind, disturbing her peace. She has trouble falling asleep after that. A voice suddenly calls out her name, prompting her to investigate. Surprise, surprise, it's her own reflection in the mirror. Maria is initially terrified, but she soon gains the confidence to speak to her. The reflection introduces herself as Aram and claims to be Maria's polar opposite, confident, charismatic, and dominant. The two then talk for a while about their likes and dislikes. As they become friends, Aram offers to help Maria overcome her problems and gain confidence. The next day, Maria surprises her parents by announcing her intention to attend the prom. Furthermore, she expresses an interest in learning to skate for the winter prom later in school. Maria goes to her father's clinic that evening to spend time with him. She suspects him of having an affair after observing him get close to a female client. On the way home, Dan invites her to pay him a visit at the clinic tomorrow as an early birthday present. When Maria tells her reflection about it that night, she is told that her father is a bad person who only thinks about himself. Maria obviously does not believe this, so she defends her father, claiming that he intends to give her a car. Dan, on the other hand, surprises Maria the next day with a cosmetic procedure. He informs her that he wishes to correct her unusually large ears and nose. This emotionally wrecks the adolescent, and she realizes that Dan despises her flaws. Aram consoles Maria and tells her that they can teach their father a lesson in the following scene. She also says Amy is weak for putting up with Dan's toxicity. Maria feels better as the conversion continues, and the two girls laugh. Amy notices this and inquires of Maria who she was speaking with. Amy begins to wonder if she is on narcotics when the latter is unable to provide a satisfactory answer. Later, Amy expresses her concerns to Dan, who dismisses them completely. Instead, he administers sleeping pills to her, applies a beauty cream to her face, and then places her in bed. Amy mentions that her nightmares have returned before falling asleep, but he assures her that they will go away as they always do. The next day, Maria and Lily go ice skating practicing. Because our main character has never stepped foot on ice before, she easily slips and falls to the ground. Instead of assisting her, Lily rudely tells her to stay away from Sean. Maria returns home, depressed that her only friend has begun to dislike her, and confides in Aram. The latter consoles her briefly before explaining how Lily is a bad influence. Her popularity is the only thing she cares about. Aram claims to be Maria's only friend and the only one who can help her. To accomplish this, she proposes that Maria switch places with her, giving up control of her life. The befuddled teen almost succumbs and prepares to touch her reflection, but Amy arrives and informs her that she is running late for prom. Maria, startled, quickly puts on her prom gown and rushes to school. Unfortunately, she makes a poor decision because she is overwhelmed by the bustling crowd, dazzling lights, and booming music. Maria finds it difficult to let go because she is afraid of falling. She is about to leave when Sean comes up behind her and extends his hand, offering support. Maria gladly accepts, and the two walk to the center of the rink and begin dancing in each other's arms. Lily, who is nearby, is envious of everything that is going on. As a result, she purposefully startles Maria, causing her to lose her balance and fall to the ground. Sean tries to help her, but Lily steps in and prevents him from doing so. To make matters worse, the bully, Mark, arrives and begins dragging Maria across the rink. All of the students are completely unconcerned about how she is feeling as she screams and begs for help. When Mark finally comes to a halt, Maria flees the scene, embarrassed. This is the final straw for her, and she decides to hand over control of her life to Aram. They make contact with their hands and lips to begin the transformation process. When everything is finished, Maria will be the one behind the mirror, while Aram will be free to go wherever she wants. Meanwhile, Amy is having a nightmare about the day she gave birth to Maria in the adjacent room. She is screaming in excruciating pain in her dream. The next day, Aram arrives at school and runs into Mark in the hallway. She approaches him confidently, grabs his crotch, and licks his ear before walking away, leaving him speechless. Soon after, Lily approaches her, pretending to be concerned, but Aram sees right through her. Despite this, she remains friendly with Lily and asks her to teach her how to skate again at the rink. Aram later visits her father's clinic. There, she distracts the receptionist and steals Dan's mistress' phone number. She then makes plans for the mistress and Amy to arrive at the clinic at the same time. Amy meets the mistress in the lift thanks to Aram's plan. When she discovers that her husband is cheating on her, she is devastated. The scene shifts to an ice rink where several students have gathered to practice. Meanwhile, Aram encounters Mark and lures him into the lavatory. When she arrives, she strikes him in the knee with a hockey stick, causing it to dislocate. Mark collapses on the ground, wailing in pain. He begs for help, but Aram abandons him to his fate. Everyone soon returns home, except Aram, who stays behind with Lily to practice skating. To her friend's surprise, she abruptly changes her demeanor and begins skating like a pro. Then, with a deadly look in her eyes, Aram gains a sense of determination and begins chasing Lily. Lily, terrified, tries to flee, but ends up stumbling and hitting her head on the hard cement. She bleeds profusely, but Aram only watches as she succumbs to her injuries. After a while, Aram contacts the authorities and informs them of Lily's accident, feigning fear and concern for her friend. The real Maria can be seen crying in the phone's reflection. Later, Aram returns home, and the detective arrives to question her, but Amy persuades him to return at a later time. Maria confronts Aram about the murder in the bathroom, but Aram threatens that Lily deserved it. When Maria hears this, she becomes terrified and expresses her desire to exchange positions again, but Aram refuses, claiming that she is not finished yet. The action then shifts to Lily's funeral. The detective expresses his condolences to Sean and makes eye contact with Aram there. This makes the latter uncomfortable, and she leaves. Sean, on the other hand, comes to a halt and embraces her. Aram sneaks out of her house later that night to pay a visit to Sean. He leads her to his room and hands her a joint. Aram sits in front of Sean and looks into his eyes as they talk about their lives. She then admits to fantasizing about him and begins touching him on the bottom. Sean initially tries to stop her, but eventually gives in and the two make love. Aram has a dinner date with her father the next day. Dan is concerned about her well-being in the aftermath of Lily's death, but Aram is unaffected by the incident. It's also revealed that Dan has been avoiding going home since his affair was revealed. Aram questions him about his plans to reconcile with Amy, and he assures her that things will soon return to normal. Aram then begins acting strangely, eating loudly, and in an unladylike manner. This bothers Dan, so he chastises her for not sitting properly. Aram reluctantly agrees, but her resentment of Dan grows stronger. Aram continues to avoid school over the next few days, convincing Sean to join her in class. They check into a motel one day to make love. However, Sean receives a phone call from his mother informing him that the police want to question them. He is worried and intends to leave, but Aram refuses. She then tries to entice Sean with kisses, but this only makes him suspicious, and he wonders why she's avoiding the cops. Aram, realizing she has been exposed, grabs a bottle and hits him on the head with it. Unfortunately, he dies within a few minutes. After that, Aram goes to the toilet and finds a distraught Maria crying her eyes out. The two then embrace and comfort one another. Meanwhile, Amy is having another nightmare at home. Maria had a deformed twin sister in her dream, and Dan believed it would be futile to keep the baby alive, so he decided to euthanize her. It turns out that Aram is Maria's deceased twin sister. Back in the present, Aram arrives at Dan's clinic and rings the doorbell. She is huddled at the door, unable to support herself. Dan carries her to the operating table and brings her a glass of water. But, to his surprise, she starts taking her clothes off. Enraged, he orders her to put her clothes back on, but Aram begins to remove the rest of her clothing. She then asks her father if he thinks she's beautiful. Dan reluctantly admits that she is lovely, but she then asks if he would still love her if she had deformities. Dan responds in the affirmative once more, saying that he would love her unconditionally, regardless of her flaws. Aram, on the other hand, does not believe him and quickly slashes his throat with a sharp object. After he bleeds to death, an enraged Aram wonders why he couldn't love her before. She then calls out for Maria but receives no response. So she goes home and lies down next to a dazed Amy. The final scene ends with shimmering reflections and Amy holding both of her daughters in her arms. This indicates that Aram and Maria have become one person.